Hello. A little bit later than usual. So, on my screen here, I don't know about your screen, but on my screen here it says Social Distance Club Day 33, and I believe it's Day 36. I put in the title Day 36, it says Day 33, and I don't know how to get it to stop doing that, but I don't suppose it matters. Matters to me. There we are. I'd like to know how to work it all properly. Anyway, hello. Let's see what's going on. First thing I need to do, hello, Charlotte. First thing I need to do is find the invite link. So I'll just, good morning, everybody. I will just bob that in the link there. And I also need to be aware that people aren't necessarily aware of what this social distance social club is all about. So during the very beginning of the lockdown, and it became apparent that we were going to have to close, and a lot of people were going to have to close, and it was very unsure what was going to go on, and it was a very unsettling time of change. It still is a little bit, but maybe we kind of got used to it. I was thinking of the best way that I could help people, because obviously we're not going to make normal business income. So there's no point running after business income. So what am I going to spend my time doing? And I thought, well, the best thing I can do is help people as best that I can, which will build my audience and means that when we get out of lockdown and the restrictions are lifted, more people will know of me, more people will hopefully be recommending me, more people will be coming onto my Rider Confidence course, more people will be signing up for the Mounted Division Ultimate Rider Confidence course, more people will be buying my book. And so there is a selfish aspect of it there, that this will be a good thing to do. The selfless aspect is that I'm going to get the opportunity to help loads of people every day because I'm not working. So that's absolutely marvelous. One of the things I can help with is rider confidence, obviously. And one of the other things I can help with is doing this, changing your business from a bricks and mortar business or a service business into an internet business, so that should lockdown happen again, we may not be in quite as vulnerable a situation. And I am in no way an expert on this, but I have managed to do it. So I've got my story, which I'm willing to share, how I decided what I was going to do, what part of my business, which is teaching people to ride confidently, how can I put that onto the internet? How are we here now? And part of this, I also do lots of Facebook Lives whenever I possibly can, and I answer questions there as well. But the point of this was in response to a simple question that was asked right in the start, with somebody considering starting their internet arm of their business, that simply said, how do you grow your YouTube audience? Well, that was a great question, because I've neglected my YouTube audience. So it was like, right, let's do this publicly. So publicly, we looked at my YouTube, and it had 472 subscribers. And I said, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop doing the Facebook Lives where I just talk to the screen and people write in comments, and I'm going to do a interview format. So for everybody who's come on with the interview format, thank you. Thank you. So really, thank you for supporting this idea, which is a public way. And those days when nobody came on are just as valuable, because one day somebody will be saying to me, oh, I tried to do an interview thing like you did to grow my YouTube audience, and it didn't work at all. Well, I've got about 3 days when nobody came on at all. And so I'll be able to point to that and say, yes, just like riding horses, it's never a linear oh, it gets better and better. Some days are amazing, and then some days are rubbish, and then some days are amazing, and some days are rubbish, and some are a little bit good, and some are a little bit bad. And just as long as the upward trend, like one of those finance graphs, is going upwards, then we're winning. So I really would like to thank everybody who's been onto the show, contributed to the show so far. It's been absolutely fascinating hearing your questions, making this a show worth doing, making it worth my time coming out here. It's been absolutely marvelous. So that is the reason for it. So please, if you've got a question about rider confidence or interneting your business or your job, or if you've been aware of how vulnerable your job is now because we've had lockdown, maybe you want to think of getting a different internet arm to your job, maybe a previous trade that faded off into the distance many years ago. You might just think, I might just start that little teaching position again, but make it internet based. And I can help with that. Not to any degree of expertness, but in the story that I've done, I've managed to do it to a small degree, and if I can help, I will. So that's absolutely marvelous. So if anybody would like to come onto the show, and my area of expertise is rider confidence, and then I also have the internet in the business and general mental strategies to cope with stressful situations that I've learned from rider confidence, which might just help in the lockdown situation that we have. So that's marvelous. Thank you all for joining. Let's have a little look who's in the comments. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Amy. Hello, Jules. Hello, Penny. Oh, Penny's got a question. How did you connect? Oh, let's see Penny's question. How do Facebook Live? Well, Facebook. It does end up on an email list. My email list. No, I'm of the belief that you need an email list to keep that contact with your clients. But at the same time, email lists aren't where the connection's made, and that's where you'd feel that you were bothering people. So the connection is made here. The connection is made here. I am talking to you, answering this little question through the Facebook Live. The connection's made by making silly little videos about the horses and the way of training that I have, and the philosophy that I have, and that went out on Facebook, and I put a little bit of money behind each one, and the comments came back saying, oh, that was really nice, thank you very much, and started to build an audience like that. That gave me the confidence to get onto Facebook Lives, which was a jump, and I thought, well, I'll just try, and I'll just take a subject every night and do a little Facebook Live. That got a nice interaction going. Plus, people were still coming to my centre, so that they'd then seen me on the telly, on the computer. That gave me the confidence to try live talking, so then to do the seminars. So it's all a gentle little build up over, well, it's been over a period of 3 years. It was 3 years ago, almost exactly, that I first put my first content out. But I was foolishly adhering to the idea that you don't want to put too much content out and you don't want to flood your market. I totally don't believe that anymore. And I believe that I could have made the progress that I'd made in 6 months that took me 3 years. But you're quite right. On the email list, that I would say is still my Achilles tendon. I use my email list to put out 50 pieces of helpful content, pushing people to these videos, stuff that's going to help people. And to be fair, I do get, after each email output, I do get 3 or 4 email lists saying thank you, and possibly one saying unsubscribe me from this list. And of the 13,000 emails I send out, 3,000 are opened and about 400 are clicked on. So that means 400 people have actually found it valuable enough to go to the Facebook page. Now, hang on a minute. I don't want to spend my time thinking about that one person who said, I want to unsubscribe, because I've just helped 400 people. So am I bothering people? The answer is you can't tell, but you have to reach people. You've got to try and help them, and I'll put out endless helpful pieces of content that will help people, so that when I do have something to sell, and it's like, right, I've made this new hypnosis, I've made this new thing, it's going to help people in this situation, people will know that I mean it. People will know I've made this product which is going to help people. I wouldn't dream of just sending out only emails saying, buy this, buy this, buy this, because then you are bothering people. The emails are going to people I've already got a connection to, and I've already got a connection to them by doing this. In a way, there's nothing in it for me, but that's what I started this whole thing off saying. I want to build my audience, not to sell to, but to make aware that when there is something to sell, if I say it's going to help this bunch of people, they're going to know. And if it's not for them, I don't want them to buy it, but I want them to share it to somebody who it will help, because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. It's the only reason that you have a service or a product is because you think it's going to be useful to people. But yeah, I get what you mean about email lists. They're necessary. If I can help 400 people at one email blast, then it would be silly to not do so, even though I'm not getting anything back for it. Does that make sense? There we are. Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, look at that. I'm going to put that up. Oh, that's nice. Charlotte Victoria says, I don't think older people use Insta as much, reduces your target audience, of which you are correct. Facebook came first, obviously. By the time all the old people were on Facebook, then the youngsters coming up gravitated towards Insta. Those youngsters, who was it who said that? It was Charlotte. Charlotte, how quickly did the last 10 years go? Those 18-year-olds on Insta are going to be 28-year-olds now, and they're going to be 38-year-olds. So although you're correct, it doesn't reduce your audience to use Insta. It's essential, because that is the platform of the future. And sure enough, Facebook will do a turnaround and do something to appeal to younger people. Mark Zuckerberg isn't going to sit there and let all the young people go off to Snapchat and TikTok. He's going to do something. So there's going to be a constant dynamic. So don't ignore your Insta, don't ignore your TikTok, don't ignore your Snapchat. As stupid as they are, nonetheless, people need to know you, so that in the future you've got your audience there, and you're in a position to help people. So there you go. There you go. Oh, I noticed somebody came into the chat room and now they've run away. So I assume that's Helen. I've got a little. Oh, are you back? Helen, are you going to join us now? Is that convenient? Okay, let's just add you into the stream there. Oh, I'll get rid of. Hello. Let's just hide that. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm all right, thanks. How are you doing?
All right, thank you very much. How can I help you?
I think I came on last week and we talked about. I had a bit of a question about how long is what's the likelihood of what's the time expectancy of being able to get to that stage where you just turn up at the yard, put the stuff on, ride without that sort of lurch in your tummy or having any kind of thought process about nervousness. And then afterwards, I remembered in your book that you said about the 45 days. And I do forgive me, because I wanted to have a bit more of time to read that page again this morning, but I hadn't had a chance. It's a bit weird because I didn't sleep terribly well, and in usually about 3 or 4 in the morning, I wake up and I have this sort of moment of dread, just waiting for the daylight, because whenever it seems like daylight comes again, I kind of feel like I'm going to be all right. So if I was ill in the night and it's dark, everything feels much worse than when the daylight comes. And last night I was lying in bed and I woke up and I thought, oh, it's still dark. So I'm still in my fear period, I suppose. But actually lying there with no conscious thought, this thought popped in my head, well, it will be daylight. And that's quite a different thought process. It will be daylight. So don't worry about the fact that it's still dark, because it will be daylight in about an hour. And I have been practicing trying to change into much more positive thought processes. So, and when we went into this lockdown, I wrote on the calendar 45 days to see whether I could match the program that you said in the book. And how do you know when you've done it? Because a lot of the time, obviously, you're not concentrating all the time about, your positive thought. You switch off and do other things, don't you? So how do you kind of know that you've got there?
It takes 45 days of a new habit to actually become physically ingrained in the connections in your brain. So, for example, that thought coming unbidden, it will be daylight. You may have had to write that down to start off with, and write it on your fridge. I must remember that at 4 a.m, when you're completely in your primitive brain because it's 4 a.m. and everything seems the worst that it possibly could. That's a time when you're just in your primitive brain. It holds no meaning. It holds no more punch than any other thoughts that you have. And you may have to write next to your bed at 4 a.m, nothing has any meaning. And you might have to look at that over and over again. If you did that for 45 days, you would not be looking at the blackboard on your wall. You'd wake up, you'd go, yeah, it has no meaning. And that will have become a habit. Do you see what I mean? That's what I mean by the 45 days. The more that you actually do something, the more that you actually put that effort in. And as you say, it takes work, but that work becomes less and less and less as it becomes a habit. Exactly in the same way as if you go to live in a foreign country. If you go to live in Spain, where everybody is A, speaking Spanish, and B, having a different set to the day, because they rest, they have a long lunchtime and then they go out a lot later, and that's the Spanish way of doing things. You watch the British go over there and try and build a house and get all upset because they can't go to the bank at the time that they would do in England, and everyone's asleep, and it's an effort to them. It's an absolute effort. Everything's an effort. And they go, oh, I hate it in Spain. It's all so much effort. You've got to think differently. However, after they've been there for 45 days, that's a month and a half, you'll find that they're quite happily having a long lunch with Pedro's grandma, who makes her own cheese and wine, because that's the way it's done. And that then becomes a habit, which becomes a behavior, which becomes a character. And basically, you've chosen to live in the world of positive thinking, which is like a foreign country. And the more you observe, if you go and live on the Costa del Sol with all the English people, you're not going to get into the Spanish culture. So if you get right in to the Spanish culture and only mix with the Spanish people, then 45 days into it will be plenty, because you will have these new behaviors, new languages, new ways of thinking about the day, new ways of thinking about the world. But as you say, it's tiring. but it gets less tiring. When you first go to live in Spain, it's hugely tiring. Did you hear any of that? Because I saw your connection disappeared.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll watch it on the replay. My connection's a bit rubbish, and I think it goes a bit odd when the old man next door is mowing his lawn. It just is really. Anyway, so yeah, no, don't worry. I'll read it back in the replay. The other question about, and thank you for answering that. But the other thing about, the way our minds work is that had a bit of a thing at the weekend. We moved the horses to the summer grazing, and I usually find that quite stressful. Just, I mean, on the whole, they're quite good loaders. I did my bite sizes, not with them particularly, but with, organising everything. So everything was sorted to leave, everything was sorted to where we got to. My other half came along and drove one of the trucks with a trailer on it. And he saw me having a little bit of a wobble, and he said, "Don't panic, it's all fine. Everyone's loaded. Stop worrying about it." And later on, he said, as a woman, and because obviously your horses, you have that emotional connection, whereas him as a man could be quite practical about it, pragmatic. Well, we're just doing this. We're getting them from A to B, and we'll get there, sort of thing. When you wrote the book, obviously the majority of the people that come on your courses, I understand, are ladies. Is it the same, thought processes, male or female, or do you have to cater for the female mind, as in the fact that we like to nurture, we like to feel perhaps more needing to be in control of things? Do you know where I'm going?
Yes. The fact is that 95% of the people who ride horses for leisure in this country are ladies, and that's
of course, yeah.
And that's reflected in the people that come to my talks and my seminars and the Rider Confidence course. It's 5%. So if there's 30 people there, you'd expect 1.5 men to be there. So there we go. I don't take it into account is the answer, because I know so many in the horse archery world, so many of them are ladies, and they don't necessarily carry the leisure way of thinking, mostly because they're from countries other than England, other than Britain. They're all over it. They're not got any male qualities. They're not butch ladies. But they're yeah. The answer is that they're as up for it and enjoying it, but they haven't had this is where maybe you'd have to tell me, the ladies bit comes into it. They haven't had the social structure that exists in this country reaffirming things that are simply not true about horses as you go from yard to yard to yard, over 20 yards, over 30 years, and all this, I have to use the word gossiping about every little bit of negativity of horses just doesn't seem to happen in those cultures. So you'd have to, yes, I'm aware that I may come across as brusque, and I have to take that into account, that I'm not being male, I'm being straightforward, and I know loads of ladies who are straightforward as well. So I try not to, but obviously it's in the back of my mind that I'm a 6-foot bloke and it's all right for him to say. So partly that's why
men on the whole have that much more practical approach, I think, don't they? To I don't know, to problem solving perhaps, or just the way they view things. It's about getting the job done, whereas we're a lot more emotional about it. So therefore, would we suffer from fear more than men? I don't want to make it into a male, it's like a sexist question. It was just interesting, really.
Yeah, in their relative areas, men are more straightforward and flat, and in their relative areas, ladies are very more straightforward and flat. I mean, when you go onto any group and say, "What did your other half do today that was stupid?" and you'd think that the men were the flappy ones. When particularly when men come to help down the yard and they know nothing about horses, and they're putting the rugs on backwards and everything else, and it's like they're just the amount of times people have said, "Oh, so I got I got my husband to muck out, and it was the most ridiculous, inefficient mess that you've ever seen in your life." So I think it's just a matter of your areas. I don't take any notice of it. Is the answer. If you can pick up one faffing male, I can pick up one straightforward male, and the same for females.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just a question of interest, really. But after that sort of that kind of the weekend of moving, it just became apparent that we came at it from very different angles, and
What other area of your life would you not be emotional about and be very straightforward? Is it an area of work or a job that you used to do or something where you just know your business through and through and you're just like bop bop bop?
I don't think I could say that there's a lot, business that's I'm quite passionate about. So I think I'd be emotional about all those things. I think it's more like a practical thing, driving. Not emotional about that. Just get in the car and do it, don't you?
Well, some people are emotional about it. But the point is, and the point through the book is that there are areas in your life where you can take. Driving is a great example because it's full of dangers, but at the same time, you hope for the best. You deal with the rest, and you don't make a massive fuss out of it. And you certainly don't go and put it on Facebook every time. I mean, every time that the lights changed to red and you were just a little bit too close, so you carried on over, or some little thing that doesn't matter. You don't go to Facebook, find all the crashes on the intersections all around the world and post them and go, that nearly happened to me today. But you the leisure riders who are like that they do that. They're like, oh, my horse nearly put a foot in a rabbit hole and I was nearly killed. And it's like, it didn't though, did it? What you're saying is you went for a ride and saw a rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's always things to strive for, isn't there? And I think rereading your book is so helpful because every time I have read it a couple of times, I flick through the pages or I come on one of these chats and someone has a question, there's always you present a really good way of looking at things, and that's refreshing. And I suppose as we go along with the journey, we learn how to do it as we go along, don't we, if we're determined enough.
The refreshing point of view that I have comes from not being able to ride, learning to ride when I was an adult. So I remember how rubbish I was, how insecure it felt, how much the saddle felt like it wobbled and there was no handlebars and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then going into the professional world and having this change in my own head where it suddenly became a set of tools that I use for driving. It's the same mental tools, and it's like I'll just use that. And now that my profession is horses, and I find it so easy, when I'm doing this internet thing and writing my book, and that wasn't easy, and I was full of the faff then that you wouldn't recognize this person, and it was by taking the straightforward, easy bit of my life, which is horses. There's no problem there. I mean, if a horse starts throwing itself about, I've got plans to deal with it and I deal with it. But when my new internet business started throwing itself about, I had to drag those emotions from the driving world, from the riding horses world, and apply that to the internet world as various things broke or wouldn't work right, or it doesn't work on iPads or whatever. Somebody who lives in the IT world would be laughing at me going, it's so simple and you don't want to get worried about that, and at the same time going to pieces on their horse. And then I'm saying, this is it. So the fact that I've done the switch where I was faffy and unable to ride and listening to everybody else. Then I moved worlds, went into the professional world of films and shows and photo shoots and supplying animals and logging with horses. I went to lots of worlds, and it just wasn't like that. I wasn't surrounded with the same amount of stuff that turned out not to be true or had an element of truth. It's like I can only that I've got a gas fire in my reception room, and it's just an ordinary Cala gas fire. And what would you think if someone came into the reception room, looked at that Cala gas fire, and started screaming "fire" and ran out and started ringing the bell? It'd be like, well, yeah, you're right, but at the same time, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's like don't pick up on those little things that could go wrong. And it's like, well, no, you must do, because if this place burns down, we're all going to run around. And it's like, well, yes, you are. You kind of are right, but you must go away and leave me alone forever. that's what you'd say. And some parts of the leisure industry and some yards thrive on that kind of drama, either for status, for horsey status. Look at me, I'm so dangerous. Look at me, I'm so capable. Look at me, I'm so I'm so horsey, is what they're saying, isn't it? It's look at me, I'm so horsey, I'm so horsey. I'm thinking of dangers that you haven't thought of. What if it spins round now and knocks your head clean off your shoulder? It's like, yeah, but what if it doesn't?
Yeah. I'm lucky not to. Well, I do say I'm lucky not to be on a yard. I just rent farmers' paddocks. I did put one horse on a yard once, and we, a friend of mine who I share the horses with, we vowed never to do it again. Just the restrictions of it, people's opinions.
Oh.
Everybody watching what you're doing all of the time. It drove me mad, and I was just
if they were being successful, they wouldn't give a monkeys about what you were doing.
I look back at that time now, with you saying what you're saying. I'm thinking, gosh, yeah, it really was like that. You couldn't really breathe without someone telling you, that you've done that wrong, or why didn't you try this? It's not constructive. It's not helpful at all.
I have a few liveries at my yard, and I know they don't understand what I'm doing, and I know that I don't understand what they're doing, and in the nicest way, I'm not interested. As long as you're happy with your horse, you go out there. Sometimes we have natural horsemanship people, and sometimes we have every discipline. Show jumpers, whatever. You get a turnover, and we've only got 4 or 5, and I genuinely don't care as long as you're happy and your horse is being looked after. And I see people out there, and they've got this little prop or that little prop, or they're waving this or waving that, and I don't know what they're doing. And I'm too busy to care, as long as they're happy and getting a nice relationship with their horse. And then we've had drivers who don't ride at all because they're drivers, and I don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't care, as long as you're happy and everybody's having a nice time and your horse is well looked after. I've done my job. You're having fun. You're enjoying the facility. I'm super pleased. But I wouldn't have the time to just start watching people and judging.
No. Well, it's been really lovely to talk to you. Just before I go, I had a little look after you saying that, with things changing in lockdown. I had a little look to see how I could find your rider confidence courses and how much they were in booking and all that sort of thing. And I don't know whether I was just being a bit special, but I went on the normal, when you go on your Carl Greenwood website and you go onto the members area and that, none of your courses are there. It's always on the other one. And I just wanted to make sure people realise where to look.
Yeah. But yes, I'm not promoting the courses as this whole internet book and everything else. The courses exist. You're quite right. Maybe I should promote them a bit more. They're very popular and they fill up so quickly that it never occurs to me that I should do that. But yes,
I found them in the end.
The website you need is horsebackcombat.co.uk, because mostly we teach Jigotov Go, which is Russian style tent pegging, and horseback archery. And that was established and going before we thought, I wonder if people would like to learn how to rear. Turns out they did. There we are.
Yeah, no, that's fab. Thanks ever so much. I'll let someone else have a go.
Thank you. Nice to speak to you. See you later.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I will just bob that into the streams. Okay, courses. website is www.horsebackcombat.co.uk. I spelled that right. Pop that in there. Okay, let's see who's on here now. I'm just going to add you into the stream. I don't see a name, but I just see a hi,
Hello.
which I imagine isn't your name. Have you got a name?
Hiya. Yes, it's Karen.
Hello, Karen. How are you?
It's Karen.
Your microphone has turned off, Karen. There we are. Oh,
Hiya,
no.
sorry about that.
There we are, on and off. How can I help you, Karen?
Not very good with these technical things. I've been watching you and seeing your videos about confidence.
Yeah.
Over the last, I've got a 9-year-old who I've had since she was 4 months. I started riding when I was 6 and had masses of confidence.
Yes,
and
good.
Did all the crazy stuff, jumping, everything. I learned loads of stuff and absolutely loved it. And as a child, Black Beauty was my utmost dream of horse. And I've got her.
Brilliant.
She's a Black Beauty. She is absolutely amazing horse. But over the years, I've been on yards, like you say, I've lost my confidence. Things have happened, like she's reared. I got back on, but I've not off, not hurt myself bad. But I come to a new yard like 2 years ago, to a quiet yard, and live in a village now, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm trying to build my confidence back up on my own.
Yes.
I've got to the point where I'm now trotting around the menage, but she's still spooking in the menage, and she's still, when it's windy, she's still going a bit crazy. And I got to the point where she was running off with me, and I didn't know how to stop her.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got back. I started having my instructor back, who helped me get her learning what she needed to know with her legs and things. And I got in to come and give me a lesson. And she put me on the lunge, and I was so nervous, and it was so windy. We had she nearly went off me. And if my instructor hadn't been there, I'm sure she would have gone off with me. And I don't know, she'd have stopped eventually. I know she would have. But in the past, I've always been able to stop her. And I've always been able to control her and do stuff with her. But I've got to the point where, because I'm scared, I'm being silly. I feel I'm being silly over it. And my confidence is gone.
So I've
dealt with it before, and now I'm not dealing with it.
So is it a matter that when the horse is asking you, is a bit uncertain because it's windy or whatever, and it's asking you, is this all right? And your body is responding to the horse, no, it's not, I'm scared.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. And I know I am. And I know this is silly. I know I shouldn't do it, but I'm still doing it.
So have you read my book or listened to my audio book or seen the content of that?
I've listened to a lot of your videos on confidence on YouTube, because I find that really easy because I'm dyslexic. And that being my easiest media is a big help to me.
So we deal a lot with training ourselves to be trained and desensitized to spooking us, not the horses. We need to desensitize ourselves to being sat on a spooking horse and being okay with it by setting up a load of spooks, which I usually say garden sprinklers. Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
And
the bins as well.
The garden sprinklers one. Have you done that exercise? Have you started desensitizing your horse?
I don't think I have. No.
No. Well, one of the things you have to do is do it. So, for example, a bite size for you might be to not take the horse out when it's windy, but when the horse is calm, introduce a few little spooks then. But if you're not helping on the horse's back, be long reining it and have some obstacles and things that the horse might feel. You need to get the horse to question, is this all right? But then you need the confidence to say, yes, it is all right. And the horsey language for yes, it is all right is walk on, keep walking on, trot on, get on, means it's all right. If it wasn't all right, you wouldn't continue to school the horse. And you have to start getting into the horse's head that doing these figure eights must mean that the person kicking a football over there is fine. But when you're on the horse's back, if you get someone to kick a football over there and then you're scared that the horse is going to react, then you're not doing a desensitizing session. You're actually making it worse because the football's getting kicked and you're starting to clamp onto the horse and give it pulling and wind it up. And the horse is like, is this all? Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. So look, the alternative.
When I'm out,
well, I wouldn't be out.
Go on.
If I was like that, I wouldn't be out. I'd do all this desensitization either in the arena or in a field with an arena area in it. Your choices are to long rein the horse so that you're not frightened that you're on top of it, but the horse still has the sensation of the bit in its mouth. It's still expected to be on the bit and have a nice position. You're still able to drive the horse on and quite firmly say, yep, get on, that's right, go on, get on, which means ignore the garden sprinkler, ignore the chicken, ignore the feedback, the thing that you've arranged. So you've arranged it, you know it. The other alternative, of course, is for somebody else to be riding your horse so that you can see when I wave my flag, this confident person just drives my horse past it, so you can see how the horse is going to react, which will give you confidence. I mean, that's our choices, basically. We can't be on the horse clamping up and going, I'm scared, having arranged for something to mildly worry the horse.
I do it in the school. I do it in the school, but when I'm out on a ride, I'm more confident. I'll push you past things, and we get past things, and we go past some scary lorries and things like that, but we still go past them.
Okay.
But when I'm at school, if something's going on, I'm like, oh God, and the wind's blowing, and I'm thinking she's getting on her toes, and then I'm tensing up, and I shouldn't be.
So we have to find a situation where the horse can get on her toes a little bit. So you've introduced something that makes the horse go, ooh, and it starts to grow, but it's sufficiently under your control that you want to have a little bit of worry for yourself, and you are literally practicing feeling the little bit of worry. The anxiety is still there because you've given yourself out of your comfort zone, but not into the scary zone. And you will literally practice continuing to do your circle and your figure eight whilst this mildly worrying thing could be happening. And then that mildly worrying thing becomes normal. You know, I mean, the horses, I don't know if you can see, I've got flags around. Can you see? I've got flags somewhere. I see some nice flags. Yeah, you got flags around there in the corners of the arena. That was mildly worrying at first. And now, of course, I've got 20 horses, including the liveries horses, that don't take the blindest bit of notice. So if I then wanted, if I then wanted to desensitize them more to flags, I now have to go beyond that. For a flag in each corner is not going to help me have a desensitizing session. And if I continued this, I'd end up with flags all the way around the arena, looking like Glastonbury Festival, all the horses like quite happily ignoring it, and people would just be amazed. They'd be like, your horses are so good, but they're already doing it, which shows it can be done. We have to apply our intellect to coming up with things that are mildly worrying, and then continue to do the thing that you're going to do. You would not school a horse to do a perfect circle if one of those flags was actually going to turn into a polar bear and jump on it. You wouldn't. No. So you need to convince. Yeah. So when you feel a little bit worried, you're training yourself. So you've set this up, you've put up a flag, or you're carrying a flag, and it's only a little one to start with, and you're feeling a little bit worried. When the horse goes, is that all right, and starts to grow, more than anything, you have to do your circle. Absolutely perfectly, with a laser focus. Absolutely. Let's get the correct amount of bend. Don't you dare. If we're doing a circle and you've got something going on outside the arena, first thing the horse does is try to look the wrong way and bend the wrong way. Don't you dare. We are on the proper bend. Yeah. And even more so, with an absolute laser focus, we are going to do this circle, do this circle, do this circle, and doing this circle on the proper bend with the proper bit and your hind legs under you and all the rest at a consistent trot, a consistent pattern, will teach the horse that that's the way to save my life. That's the way to do it. It will also teach you that when the horse grows a bit and starts going, you are perfectly able of going, drive on, do what we're thinking of, drive on, do what we're thinking of. And you build up to those windy days.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah. You do it on...
She does, and we started walking. We started just walking and trotting when it's not windy. And she's doing really well with that.
And then you've got breezy days. How's a breezy day? Presumably a breezy day is okay. I've got a mild look.
It's not okay, I think, at the moment.
Well, at the moment, you can. Where's my flag? See how much my flags are going in the breeze? I mean, I wouldn't particularly call this a windy day, but it's not perfectly still either. So that's your midpoint. It's like, right, if you've gone out and done an exercise with your figure eights and some sort of spook that it's got used to now, a flag or the garden sprinkler or whatever, and then you go out on a light windy, it's not even a wind, whatever, a light breeze, and you absolutely go out and with all intent do exactly the same again, the horse won't notice the breeze. But I've got a phrase that I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah.
Action beats anxiety. Action beats anxiety for you. Action beats anxiety for the horse. Do the thing that you're doing, and the more, if your anxiety starts going up, which it should, because you've arranged it, you've used your mind to get a slightly uncomfortable thing to get used to, and to get over that anxiety is to do the thing you're doing. Not to look at the flapping chicken or whatever it is you've arranged, but to look at the circle, do the circle, look at the circle, do the circle. Because I promise you, if you had a film director outside your arena and they were going to pay you £3,000 for the day for you to get this shot of you trotting a figure eight while a chicken flaps, you would be amazed at how well your horse would behave. That £3,000 would go into you, and my God, your horse would do that circle.
Yeah.
Because you would think of nothing else.
Yes,
you would be like, I have to do this circle. And the director's very finicky, and he says, right, this little bit of surface here, you have to put your foot on there, the horse's hoof on there, and that little bit there, these exact marks, you've got to be a perfect circle, because this is a really expensive film and you have to do it. I promise you would think of nothing but that circle, and they go, yes, we're nearly there, we're going to do it, and then you come off and you wouldn't have noticed if the wind had picked up, and that horse wouldn't have noticed if the wind had picked up, because my God, you were going to do that circle. Unless you're ridiculously wealthy, in which case you won't care.
Yeah.
Which you might be, for all I
know. I would care. No, I would care, because I'm a carer and my money goes into my horse, so I would care.
Does that make sense?
I want to get it right.
That absolute laser focus on doing the thing you do is the way forward, and using your intellect. Before you get on the horse, before you get in the saddle, before you get down the stable, at home, it's like, right, what are we going to do tomorrow? I'm going to come up with a plan. I'm going to have some poles on the floor so that she has to think about something. I don't know, whatever it is your plan is. And I'm going to have a desensitizing session simply by pinning an old feed bag to one corner of the arena. That'll be enough to worry. Is this okay? And my response will be, ride the figure eight, ride the figure eight, ride the figure eight, ride the figure eight, like I'm getting paid £3,000. And the horse won't notice the bag. And the horse won't notice the bag.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
But it's all down to you. It's all down to you. You're laser focused on the job at hand. And if you practice that, and you've got 500 or 600 different experiences of different things that you've thought of over the next 3 years, the horse will know that when something spooky attacks, it's just going to listen to you. And more importantly, you will know that when something spooky attacks, the best thing to do is to listen to me.
Yeah.
When you were a kid running around, when you were a kid running around playing Black Beauty, you had that laser focus. You didn't see the little things that your horse might have jumped at or whatever. You were on Black Beauty with your imagination on, and everything else fell to the side. That's why kids are so brave, because they've got massive imaginations. And as far as they're concerned, they are in a film and they are doing this. And that's the same laser focus.
Yeah. She is. She's my little Black Beauty. She's 16 hands of it, and she's lovely. And when when we're together, when we work properly together, we're amazing. When it all goes to pieces, it goes to pieces completely.
Okay, then. So give that a go. Obviously.
Right.
Look back on this conversation through the replay, and get planning. Do the plans. Do the bite sizes. We don't have brave pants. There's no need to be brave. There's a need to be trained. You got to train yourself and train your horse. Don't be brave. I'm not brave, but I am trained. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
Lovely. It's been really nice speaking to you. I hope that works well for you.
Lovely. Thank you, Carl, for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye. Lovely. Let's just have a little look. Pippa's going to speak to me, she promises. Lovely. So I've got Vanessa asking a question. You're going to come on? Okay, I need to put the link, don't I? Okay, if you've written a question, Dolly Good, in the description. Oh, never mind. I'll do it now. I'm looking for the link. If you'd like to ask your question, I regret that I can't get back to written questions because it's a video show. There we are. I can answer that question. Amy Barker, how can I buy a hard copy of the book? You can get it from Amazon, or you can go to www.carlgreenwood.co.uk. If you want to come on and ask your question, The video still says day 33. I don't know why. I was trying to work out how that happened anyway. So there we are. I'll put that again too. So if you click onto the link that I'm putting on now, you can ask your question. I regret I can't go back to written questions because it's a video show. Okay, to ask a question, click this link. Lovely. Okay, let's just have a look. So, we were talking earlier that the reason why this is a video show is because it all came from a question earlier from somebody saying, how do you grow your YouTube channel? I'm now on 602 subscribers. When I started this live broadcasting, it was 472. So there you go. That's how it all happens. Okay, lovely. Okay, we've got Sarah just bobbed onto the thing. I'll just give my screen a little clean there. Okay. Where's my cursor? There it is. Sarah, join us. Speak to us. What we got? What's going on?
Hi, Carl. Nice to meet you. I've tried to get to your seminars, but never actually made it. This is really good for me because my trainer and coach, Amelia Poole, is also on watching.
I recognise that name, yes.
At the moment, yes. Yeah, you've been helping her. My confidence issue is I've got this wonderful little cob, 14-2, and he came to me about 5 years ago as an ex-hunting pony. I'd never had a pony before. It's my first pony. I was 42 years old. I was very excited. I took him to hunter trials and we did water jumps and steps. And we did all these exciting things. And then I broke my leg. So I'd had him for about 2 years. I broke my leg. I stopped riding him for 6 months. And then when I started riding him, it was just very gentle walking up and down the road because I could, but it was a struggle to mount and dismount, to be honest. But I felt very safe on him. Amelia helped me get my confidence back on him and get me jumping on him. And that was amazing. And I was desperate to get him back out on the cross country again because that's where he really excels. And that's what I wanted to be doing with him. He just gets very, very excited. So the bucking, there's no rearing. There's plenty of bolting going on. There's lots of bucking going on, and he's had me off a few times. But it's not nasty. He's not spooked by, he's pretty much bomb-proof. He just gets so excited. I take him to the cross country. I've tried calming cookies. I've tried lunging him first, and then I get on him, and he turns into what I call his stallion pose. His head goes up, his back is arched.
What breed is he?
Like, cob. He's an
Welsh cob. Oh, Irish cob.
Irish cob, yeah. He's looks like a black stallion and says, yep, we're gonna jump that 7-foot hedge over there. We're going to gallop over the countryside for the next 10 hours and not stop. And of course I get really scared because I don't want him to do that. I just want him to take me safely over the jumps. And I didn't have this. It is a sort of a pre and after leg breaking scenario, I believe, because I didn't have any confidence issues before the leg break, and now I do. Even though I'm not afraid of breaking my leg, I don't think I'm afraid of breaking my leg again, which I did skiing, by the way, not riding. So I've read the PDF, and it says, when he bolts, to encourage him forwards and say, come on, yeah, let's do this. And then lockdown happened, so I haven't had the opportunity to take him out really. So and he's now lame, so we've not ridden for 3 months. I'm just about to start working on him again now that he's almost sound. And I don't think I'm an unconfident rider. I'm just about to take my daughter's pony out for a bareback ride around the village. It's just that scenario with him. If I take him into open countryside, is he going to do it to me again? He's done it enough times, there's other times we'll go out in the countryside and kids, and he's perfectly well behaved.
Yeah.
But it's just that once or twice that he's done it to me, and I get so anxious about it, and I know I need to not be anxious.
Yes. So I assume he's got big batteries, and the batteries don't run out, and you just keep pushing on and pushing on. And it would go forever if.
Well, I say he's like a 4x4 Ferrari.
Yeah.
So he can cope with any terrain and do it at serious speed.
Yes.
With very much strength and stamina. Yes, a lot of strength and stamina.
Yes. So perhaps in that case, pushing on and pushing on isn't going to help, because he's just going to carry on.
Yeah.
I've got some like that as well. It's not a one size fits all. It depends on the horse. So it's just exuberance. And before you broke your leg, how did you deal with this exuberance? The fact is, you're not dealing with it now, and you used to.
So I don't recall it happening before. Maybe it did once or twice, and I think I enjoyed it, and I did kick him on, and I said, yeah, yeehaw, let's go. And then a few of my instructors, not Amelia, this is before I met Amelia, would say to me, well, if you're letting him, then you're telling him that that's okay. You have to stop him. So, yeah, I guess ever since I've tried to stop him rather than asking him on. So
is there no point where if you know if they're stopping him, then there's like not here, which is different. It's like now's not appropriate, but if you were to hire a gallops, that would be appropriate, and you could have a great time.
Yeah.
When
one of the other issues is when he is in gallop and he's excited about it, he will bronk at the same time, and that's when I come unseated. Not always, sometimes. And that, at 40 mile an hour, that's pretty hairy and scary.
And do you stand on your stirrups? When they're galloping, do you get up off the horse?
Okay, so that's interesting. So I used to, and then I was advised to stay in the saddle so that I had my body in contact with him, so that he would be more listening to me. But again, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. So recently I stay in the saddle when he gallops. I
would be reluctant to stay in the saddle on a horse that's going to bronc, because the saddle's going to hit my bum and I'm going to come off. So in that situation with that particular horse, and I'm thinking of a horse of mine which is exactly the same, is like you never know when that's coming, and I stand right up. I also hang on to a bit of mane because I know that he's a fairly wild child. But we want to be galloping then. We'll be doing horse archery or something like that, and I'm using that horse's speed and abilities to get a good time.
Yeah.
So that's where it is allowed. Now at the start of the run, where all the spinning and jumping and bucking might take place, I am sat in the saddle then. It's so heavy and calm, almost as if I'm about to get off. I'll even make little movements that I'm not with it at all, and I'm about to get off, because if they think you're about to get off, they're like, oh, are you getting off? And I'll use that. Of course, I'm fully in the moment that he could zoom off. I'm not taking my eye off the ball, but my body's going through the motions that I am taking my eye off the ball, and I'm like shifting around a bit and talking to the other people, all conscious that I'm keeping him calm. I'm keeping him calm. There's no sense of it. Then it's time to go, and we're straight into it. As soon as he knows that my attention's on, then he's like going to be exuberant, shall we say, and we need to get gone, because that's the kind of horse that he is.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of horse that I want him to be. And if we're doing a different game, then we won't get into that situation, because that's the way he's built. It's his personality.
Yeah.
Does any of that ring a bell with
it does.
what you're doing?
It's very interesting what you were saying. I think it was the last lady or the one before about being distracted. So last time I took him to cross country with Amelia, and my daughter was riding her pony as well. My daughter was having some trouble with her pony, and Amelia was trying to help her out. So I was kind of one eye watching them. Are they okay? You know, is she going to bolt off with my daughter? One eye was on my horse, who was on a lunge going around like a lunatic. And I thought, right, I just need to, my daughter wants to do some jumps. She wants me to lead her over the jumps. So I just need to get on my horse and do it. Got on him, walked him, trotted him around the course, pointed him at a jump, and immediately he went back arch, head up, we're going to gallop. And I said, no, you're not. I'd got off him like a flash, ran in front of him and grabbed his reins and jumped the jump and pulled him over with me. And I jumped a few jumps like that. And then and everyone was laughing. I thought that was very funny. It was exhausting. So I thought, right, that is exhausting. I'm going to get on him and do that now. And my daughter's going to follow me because she wants to do the jumps. She wants to lead because she's feeling nervous. I have to show her that I'm not nervous. And he did it, and he was fine. But it was just it was such an effort to get to that point where we were able to take the jump. And I get so jealous of people just turning up at cross country courses going, oh, we're going to jump that now. And it looks so easy. And I really want to be there.
Undoubtedly, you manually jumping over the jumps, leading the horse, had nothing to do with it then behaving once you got back on board.
Okay.
They just don't work like that. So something was different about you. The level of your determination, maybe how low your hands were so that it couldn't put his head up. But that's probably because the first thing they do is start turning themselves inside out, and then woohoo, they're off. There was something different about you. Leading the horse over the jump wouldn't make the slightest. It wouldn't make any kind of, oh, now she's explained what she wants.
Yeah. Okay. So it was perhaps giving the lead to my daughter, because I knew I had to be safe for her.
I think what I'm getting from you is the had to be's. You must. As opposed to, I've got a job to do and I must do it, and that's getting over these jumps. Whereas when the horse is about to go, there's a binary choice of either we go for this mad flat out gallop, which is jolly good if that's what you're doing, which is what I just described. If it's not what you're doing, it's like no, which isn't push forward, get over this jump. It's not explained. It's just saying no, we're not going galloping madly off there. But somewhere between those is what we are doing with an absolute intensity. And I'm always talking about this film director playing you £3,000, but you've just had that with your daughter, produce the same kind of must. I must do this. And something there was the answer. And it wasn't leading the horse over a jump. It was something about you feeling that absolute intent to do something, as opposed to your usual absolute intent to not do something.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes real sense to me. So another occasion was we have beautiful open common land very close to us, and it's great to take your horse up there for a long gallop or a nice controlled canter, whatever you plan on doing. I usually plan a controlled canter, but it ends up being a gallopy gallop. And that's another thing my daughter refuses to come with me to do, because she's frightened that my horse will gallop off and hers will follow. So I only ever do that alone. And it's a real sort of Jekyll and Hyde experience. So last time we did it, we were having a lovely controlled canter. I thought that's enough now. I'll give him a break. And a lady even came up to me and said, what a wonderful horse. How well behaved he is in this open space. And I laughed and I said, yeah, watch, he'll probably freak out in a minute. And literally I trotted off, asked him back into canter. And before he even took a stride of canter, he was so excited about it. He just did this massive buck and I went flying over his head and landed on the grass. I wasn't hurt, got back on him. But I couldn't even ask him back into trot then. I was too uptight. He was too uptight. So we just walked off the common and went back home again. So it's a real sort of Jekyll and Hyde, like, I don't know what I'm going to get with him. And I don't know if it's coming from me or from him. And and how to fix it. So
the same horse that I'm describing that's
Yeah.
like yours, Castizo. Another trick that I have to, I mean, once he's lost it, he's lost it. You know, once I've said, right, we're going, and I have to get up out of the stirrups because there's going to be some bucks of hearts in there as well, and this is the job for the moment. But in order, sometimes a trick that I can use to stop him going and to get him not able to go into the mad canter into a gallop is to absolutely grind my hips in the canter and drive that forward, and the horse seems to feel that he can't do that leap away because I am still pushing as if we were in a medium canter and like pushing with all my might, and it's exhausting, but we are absolutely driving that saddle into that horse at the pace that I want. So it's like a canter version of slow your rise and the horse will slow. It's like an extreme canter. Does that ring a bell at all? And it sounds counterintuitive because you want the horse to slow down and you're actually grinding it harder to keep it going. But what you're saying is keep going in this medium canter and I'm not letting you out of it. So it is keeping it going, but you don't change it into a I'm telling you now to stop.
Yeah. So when I say Jekyll and Hyde, he really is Jekyll and Hyde. I often struggle to get him into a canter and to then maintain the canter. So I'm already doing that in that medium canter, kicking him on, keep going, because he wants to break and be lazy and walk and eat the grass because he's a cob and that's what he wants to do. It's just that switch moment that I think my lack of confidence is based around not knowing what's causing that switch moment and wanting to prevent that switch moment from happening.
And has Amelia noticed the switch moment and what changes?
We did actually, when my daughter's pony had ulcers, she rode mine. That's how confident I am that he's a real novice ride. She's only 10, and she was riding him in a lesson with Amelia a few months ago now, and he had a switch moment whilst she was on his back and he bucked her off. I've actually got a video of it, so I'll happily share that with you. Yes, he'd been going around and around doing the jumps perfectly, and then switch, and off she went. And it's not like he then went galloping off around the arena. He went, oh, we've stopped. I'll stand still, and just waited. And that's what happens when he bucks me off out in the open. He'll just stand and go, oh, I'll eat that bit of grass then. It's not like he's going to go somewhere without me. He doesn't want to go without me. He just has this sort of woo like that, and it's all over. Kind of like a little puppy. You say walkies, and he's like, whoa, walkies. Oh, we're not actually going. Oh, I'll be quiet then.
Okay, so if this was my horse, what I would now do, everything you've said, I'd try all the things of not getting him to go into the mad gallop, but to stay by grinding it on. If he does go into the mad gallop, stand up because I don't want to get bucked off. But what I'd also do, if there's a threat of being bucked off, I only give them 3 or 4 times. If they get me off regularly, I must not be got off a 5th time because they're going to learn. They're going to get me off all the time. And then I'm sure you've heard me mention stock saddles before. I get a stock saddle, so I will not come off. You can't come off. The only way you can come off is by really trying. Okay. All the jousters up at Camelot used to use them because you just don't fall off your horse.
Right.
And then you can start thinking about exactly what's going on, what's causing this switch moment. But if you're just worrying about staying on, you've got too many things to think about. I do know that WOW do a stock saddle. You can also get them off eBay. Wintec do a stock saddle. Borrow one, but the time of coming off this horse has to stop.
Okay. He's only had me off twice. I've managed to sit most of the time. I managed to sit it because I know it's coming, and I'm able to sit up really tall and just ride it out. So yeah, he's only really surprised me a couple of times, but yeah, I'm sort of learning his body language just before that switch moment, and then I'm trying, and then that's when I try to avoid.
Oh,
avoid
okay.
it.
Oh, that's hopeful.
Yeah. And I actually won't be galloping on him for a while because he's only just become sound. So we're just going to be doing some quiet walks around. And obviously I'm not going to put myself at any risk whilst the NHS is under duress. So we're just going to be doing some quiet work now. But when we're back in full swing, my intention was to either bring him to you or I really, really want to resolve this. Amelia's offered to come up to the common where we ride and see if the switch moment happens, but it may happen, it may not. You know, one in 20 times it may happen. So it's a tricky.
The fact that you've already got the fact that you've already got a solution under your belt, you have succeeded when you absolutely had to do what you had to do to help your daughter. There was no question that the horse was going to do it. Your answer lies somewhere in there.
Okay. Here she is.
Hello. How are you?
She's a very brave little rider, aren't you, Soph? Her pony had ulcers and we didn't realise, and she was coming off pretty much every time she rode him. She was like a little stunt rider. And now he's good as gold, isn't he? Yeah. Now we've got his diet right. He's much happier. But thanks very much for that.
That's okay. There's a whole bunch of suggestions in there which has helped me with a horse pretty much identical to yours. So watch this back over the replay. There's been a few moments where you're like, actually, that does make sense. So hopefully that will, those moments, and you can discuss something with Amelia. Get back to us and let us know what you've decided to try first and how it's going. If you would, that'd be nice.
Okay, and I'll send you the video of that switch. The only time I've caught it on camera with little Sophie riding him, which is a bit of a you've been framed moment. So.
Yeah.
And of course, what about other people riding him? As he's done? Do other people ride him a lot?
Yeah, I share him with a lady in the village called Abby, and she's very novice. She hasn't taken him out in the open without me. And another lady called Abby used to ride him, and she was 19, so she was quite brave and would take him out in the open. And he's done it to her as well, but she still gets on him and takes him out again. She won't be stopped by that behaviour. She wants to ride him.
He sounds like
quite a few people.
He sounds like a very joyous horse. I mean, this is all.
He's lovely.
This is all coming from exuberance, and it's something that we don't want. But overwhelmingly, this horse sounds like a good laugh and a good thing to be on. So we don't want to let it change our view of the horse, because he sounds absolutely brilliant. Like as you were just saying. Yeah, seeing if you get the opportunity to let other people ride him and see this thing, because they're. Not only will their opinion be invaluable, but you watching, you might just see that thing.
Yeah.
But lovely. So
have a look
back at this, get back to us, and we'll see what's going on, and maybe we'll speak to Amelia as well.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye-bye. Lovely. Let's keep it going. Keep it going. This is marvelous. Adding Joe into the stream. Oh, Joe's not there. Mandy, we're going to Mandy. We're going Mandy into the stream. Maybe Joe will come back.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, fine, thank you.
How can I help you?
I'm just moving rooms because house arrest with everybody, busy, full house with everybody sat here. I bought your rider confidence bundle last week.
Okay, yes.
And I was just wondering if it was, just wanted to use it for general whole lockdown. Everybody's coming out of lockdown and done these amazing things, achieved amazing things. And actually, it's just getting through it, living with family, work and
Yes.
things like that. So before I sort of embarked on it, I wanted to think, how can I use this constructively, not just about riding, but for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is a horse question in there, and this is probably sounds quite. It is emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter's just had a baby, so she can't ride her horse. I lost my horse 2 years ago, so I haven't got a horse to ride. So the obvious thing would be, oh, why doesn't Mum ride the horse?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be a lovely opportunity for me to get back into it. It'd help her horse and her. She's had a couple of people loan her for a few weeks and take her out hacking. Hacking didn't used to be my thing. It used to be more schooling, and we're at a place now where it would be just to plod around the field because I'm absolutely sure that I could get back on. I've been for like a pony trekking thing. It's more just the emotional thing that this horse of mine was. We all build them up to be the best friends, your soulmates, and things like that. So it was dealing with that loss. The problem was that her horse accidentally was the result of my horse having to go. It was one of those awful freak accidents where she kicked him and broke his leg. So I obviously I don't think she's going to do that to me.
No.
So I just thought I got the pack. I've read all I've had the book in hardback as well, and I just thought, well, maybe I can apply some of the principles to just everyday life coming out of lockdown, and maybe that is the thing that I do, and say, okay, well, I'll go and ride her and help you and get myself back into it. But it's just this whole emotional thing of, you sort of, you're the one that's responsible for killing my horse, basically, which is a big thing to say, but it's one of those things in the back of my mind.
Yes, and it is, and it can be hard. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, but you need to. I know you're not blaming the horse, but you need to forgive the horse.
Mhm.
You are blaming. No, let's be honest. Let's cut down to the quick. Let's not muck around.
Yeah.
You're blaming the murderer.
Yeah. Thank you. In my head, that is the word, and it's very bizarre because I've done all the looking out and helping while she's been expecting, and when baby came, and baby's only 10 days old. It sounds horrible to say, doesn't it? But that's how I think.
Well, that's the way that we are. So let's not pretend that we're not. We want to be these lovely rational people, but at the same time, you need to forgive the horse in the same way that you need to forgive a person that's done you wrong. You don't want to. Probably under your breath, you're going, bloody evil thing all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I had 21 years, it's just...
In all seriousness, you need to undergo the process that people have to go to forgive people who kill their family members in cars and accidents and everything else. It's a genuine grief process that you have to go through. And although I'm sure you've gone through the grief process of losing your horse, because the bloody thing's always died before we do.
Yeah, I know.
And we do become practiced at that. It's a genuine process that you need to go to with this horse. And admit to yourself that you have to now become the bigger person who is genuinely going to forgive that horse, and you need to go and have a conversation with the horse. And I'm not, as stupid as it sounds, we've cut down to the quick here. And do you also, is it your daughter's horse, did you say?
Yeah, it was quite sad because she lost her horse. She was different in that she went and got another one straight away. So that was her way of dealing with the loss of her horse. And then it was only 8 weeks after that I lost my horse, so we lost both of them within the space of 8 weeks, and in
So
quite
is it
unexpected circumstances.
also going to be horrible here? Is it also partly your daughter's fault that your horse has died?
No, because
I like that. I like that. That was a genuine no. But I had to ask.
Yeah, no, because people did ask and make comments, but we did absolutely everything to integrate them together, have them in separate field. We did absolutely everything by the book.
Did it all correctly.
Yeah.
Did it all right. Just one of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. It was the position of it was the back leg and things. So,
it's just one of those things. It could have been a gate. It could have been a gate closing. Horses are. Your horse could have killed that horse by simply not being in the right place, and it had annoyed that horse. That horse kicked out, caught its foot in the gate, ripped its hoof off, and now it's your horse that caused that horse to die.
Yeah.
So they're in a way they're not to be given personalities, that there was any kind of malice behind it, or and you need to go and speak to yourself and that horse and have a bit of time with that horse and find the way round. I mean, if the tractor's handbrake had come off and it had rolled into your horse and killed it, how much would you blame the tractor?
No. I'd be blaming myself for pushing the horse in the field.
These are things that we do need to take the emotional situation from another place. So if something that we can cope with, one of the accidents of life that doesn't have such a emotional burden consequence is just one of those things. So you take that emotion from the scene where there's been a accident and you haven't carried, or not even an accident, there's been some sort of happening where something disastrous happened. I don't know, caused a load of grief at work, or something that you could have really lived without, or I don't know, something where it's just one of those things, and you haven't carried that emotion with it. You need to take that scene with no emotion, and then in the same way that you overlay, when you drag a photo across and replace an image on your computer, and you just overlay that image. So now you've got the image of the hateful murderer doing a just one of those things, but it's got hateful murderer written over it. We're going to drag the scene where we haven't got an emotion and just keep layering it over and layering it over and layering it over. And every time you think of that horse and it's got this black image around it, you're just going to take the time that the tractor flattened the shed and smashed all your family inheritance glassware or something like that, which was just one of those things, and just keep laying it over until the emotion of no emotion in a tragedy is now placed over no emotion in a tragedy, over that image of that horse that's always playing in your mind. Have I explained that well enough?
Yeah. Well, would it be a bit like so I've done some NLP. Would it be a bit like doing the swish pattern?
It is exactly the swish technique. I was about to say, if I haven't explained it well enough, it's called an NLP swish technique.
No, that's what I was thinking with the photo. Yeah, I mean, because this is something I don't have to do, but I think I'm at the stage. It's like I've got your package. I want to come out of lockdown and feel that we've achieved something. So it's something that would be good to do. Probably for all of us. It get me back into riding.
And it will be fabulously interesting, because when you're riding that horse going, I can't believe I used to carry this burden of guilt for this horse on this horse's behalf. That will be interesting, because if there's one person going through it, if you're going through it, there are a million people who have had this problem and are like, I can't ride that horse because it did something dreadful.
Yeah.
So it's not just you're helping. So to help loads of other people, it will be worth doing. So have a word with the horse, so actually speak to it
Okay.
and get that forgiveness, and then constantly swish technique, lay over
Yeah.
a tragedy
Yeah.
with no emotion when you lost all your family silverware that's never going to be replaced. You know, we've all had those situations of some kind, and you're just one of those things. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. And in another world, that's the dead horse, and in another world, they're both alive.
Yeah.
Look, you can't say. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got the package, so I'm going to work through that, and then hopefully it could be the beginning of a pleasant summer for all of
Yeah.
us.
And with the swish technique, it is effort to stop and overlay that no emotion. But
Yeah.
every time you think of the horse, you're going to do it. You're going to do it, and eventually, that's how you'll feel. It's like,
I think it's the emotion of the forgiveness, Carl, but also this is going to sound even more bonkers, but we've laid it on the line, haven't we? So
yeah.
it's almost like a feeling of disrespect to my horse that then it's like you're saying befriending the murderer, isn't it? That's the other thing. I think that's probably the hardest barrier, the forgiveness.
That's you. That's definitely
Yeah,
you. There's
I
no
know.
disrespect to your horse because
No.
it's gone. It ain't worried
No,
about
it does
that
no,
anymore.
no, of
Yeah,
course, no.
it's disrespect to yourself that you can change any moment that you choose to.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And also, it's worth bearing in mind that if you had 100 horses out there, none of this emotion would happen. If you had 100
and that's the
horses,
thing, when you've just got one horse for such a long time, you build so much around it, don't you? Definitely.
None of this would happen if you'd had an unfortunate incident and a horse had died as a result of another horse, and you'd done everything right. It's just one of those things, and you've got another 99 horses running out there that are, and you got to ride. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, say, well, it's disrespectful to ride any horse, or indeed pat any animal, or do anything other than cry in my bed. Yes, you could think that if you wanted to. I mean, you can take that out as far, and some people do. Let's not be those people.
No, it's my choice, isn't it? It's yeah. Okay, thank you, Carl.
Absolutely
nice to
lovely.
Speak to you.
I speak to you too. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye. Okay, so Joe, I still see has a blank screen, so I don't think that's particularly working for you, Joe. We'll just bob over to Karen. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hello. How are you? I'm good. Right. I need to pick your brains because, about a week and a half ago, got mowed down by one of the horses, and broke my wrist, got concussion. And at the time, I was saying, oh, blinking nuisance, not fearful at all. Fine. Just one of those things. So anyway, I went down with my daughter to just be there with her. And because this is a new environment, so these two horses have joined R3 about 3 weeks ago, and they're really a difficult two. They're competition horses. They're not gone from being top level fit to nothing, not being ridden, and they are a handful.
Yes, I remember you saying.
Danielle went in, and what's happening now is at the gates. So they're all coming. So we call Toots for her meal or to come in, which we feed outside the field or take her in, and they all come. So they're all around the gate, milling around the gate, knocking into each other, these two. And Toots is now she's quite anxious. So instead of no trouble whatsoever, we'd open the gate, Toots had just come out, it was no issue. Now she is anxious. So she is now not just coming out the gate, she's on edge. Open the gate and she's out like a rocket. She's all over the place.
Right, and she's going to hurt herself on the gate if we're not careful.
Well, yeah, she's going to hurt somebody who's leading her through, like my daughter or me at some point. So she's become anxious. So it was really tips to say, and I looked and I thought, oh, now I'm a bit thinking about, is Danielle going to be okay? So it was really to say, look, let's nip this in the bud. It wasn't anything that caused me fear or anxiety. You know, it's nuisance, I said, didn't I? Just a bloody nuisance.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm thinking, actually, it is quite a dangerous, it's factually not a safe thing to be doing.
No, your
So
broken
it
wrist.
really
Your broken wrist is a nuisance, but the situation
Yeah.
is serious.
But factually, there's 5 horses. Toots, who was always easy, she's fine on the ground, is now going, crikey, this is a bit of a scrum here.
Yeah.
There's horses up my back, there's horses out, and no one's supposed to get through that gate. She shot through the gate, scraped all Danielle's arm, and I'm thinking, no, now we need to say, it was to say to you, what should we be doing to make sure this doesn't escalate to what could become, oh, I don't want to go in the field, I don't want to get, you know, it won't do, but what can I do practically to keep Toots calm, get the other horses away, so that this doesn't escalate into a situation that I don't, you know, you don't want to even get her in from the field, never mind get on her.
Yeah.
You know, do I wait? I thought, should I go in with a helmet and a schooling whip? I mean, as it is now, when normally she comes, if she doesn't, I'd walk down to the field, and then she eventually comes, put the head collar on and walk her to the gate. Well, I soon learned that was not a good idea.
No, you're going to get flattened.
Because the other 2 come flying up behind her. She's then jumping all over the place and trying. So what I do is I just call her. She comes to me, then she follows me to the gate, which means she can take off if she wants. Doesn't involve me, you know. Just got to make sure I don't get mowed down in the field. Then I take her right up to the corner, put the head collar on before I open the gate. So that's what I've been doing. But even now, with the head collar on at the gate, they've all come up. They're all like, oh, she's getting fed, you know, that kind of cutting in front of her. She's trying to get out their way. And
yeah.
You know.
And who owns these other horses?
Well, there's a mare that's in foal. Then there's a brood mare who just has never been ridden. She's just in the field, quite an old girl. And Toots, that was the original 3. Worked fine. These 2 others, one is the owner of the yard, and the other is her friend. It's a top level show jumper, obviously ready for the season, tip top. Now youngish in the field. And these 2 are just, you know, occasionally they're fine. They don't take much notice, but by and large, they're in there, you know, in there jostling and pushing and having a little go at Toots and biting her bum and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any way that I could ask for her, because I thought, should I ask her to come out of the field while those 2 are in there? But I've looked at the field combinations, and I don't think there's any room for that. So there's no room for those 2 to go anywhere. They will go once this whole COVID thing has passed. One will go back into work with the owner. The other one will go back to its own home.
Yes. Is there any opportunity for putting a piece of temporary electric fence across to make a kind of buffer zone where you can get your horse in, so that the actual feeding, presumably you turn up with a bucket, do you?
Well, I turn up, but I always take her. I never feed her in the field. I always just take her out. Either we go back to her stable and she has her feed there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah. All right. I know she always comes out, and then I sort of go across the path and I feed her separately, check her over if I'm not going to be doing anything that day, and then just put her back in the field. So, oh my God, you'd be murdered if you tried it in the field. You know, I've always just taken her out.
Yes.
You know, fed her separately. So it's just trying to keep safe.
No, you have to keep safe, and they're all barging at the gate.
I wondered if I took just a schooling. You see, I think, should I go like that to them and, you know, make myself big and try and get them back? But that's
They all sound a little bit young, and I'd be reluctant to go up with whips and that. You're just going to escalate
No.
the situation.
Or do I just wait? I call her. She knows that I'm going to take her out. She knows I'm hers, if you like. Do I just wait until the others have lost interest? I thought maybe, and hopefully they start to move away or the excitement dies down, and then I put the head collar on and take her out. Just be a bit more patient until the others are leaving
I
her
think
alone.
the answer lies in coming up with a solution that you and the yard owner who owns these horses can work with, because you've now got this glass wrist which is going to be on your mind all the time, even though it's, you know, you quite rightly haven't read anything into it. Nonetheless, you're still conscious of it. It's like that.
And I think I could do it on my own, because I can undo that was the trial, you know. Could I undo the
finding the solution, whether it is making some sort of buffer zone or waiting for them to calm down, or any solution that you're going to do will have to involve politely asking the yard owner, can you just help me come up with a solution as to how to get, what should I do with your horses? Because she knows her horses' behaviors, and she's like, oh, all you do is just turn around and you go, and look, they run off.
She's very old school horsey, you know. I'm sure that she goes in there because she's got to feed the mare that's having the foal, so she goes up once a day, takes one horse out, and they're probably terrified of her. They're probably look and think, oh crikey, that's Venetia, don't go near her. And she probably doesn't have the trouble that I've had.
You need to observe what she does and do that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's an idea. Maybe I can say, when you're feeding, can you let me know?
Yes.
And I'll come up and watch what you do.
Or coincidentally go up and just watch. So that, and just have a little watch before asking her exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Just go up and have a little watch, and then if you like what she does, you can go, can you just teach me how to do that with your horses?
Yeah.
Or you might just suss on, oh right, that's what she does. She gets the youngster, or you know, who knows how many different tricks they might have. You know, she might shoo them back, and that just motion of stepping back puts them in a different headspace. Or she might go, stuff you wouldn't know. Definitely.
Just watch her. But she's got that sort of presence. She's got a gruff voice. She's very like, you know, I've watched her. In fact, I've watched her. She's a very good rider. I've watched her riding. And for me, she's very telly-offy, sorry kind of.
Well, you don't have to be. What you have to do is do an impression of her.
Yeah. But, you know, she doesn't take any nonsense. Whereas you know, so it's probably just her presence, her energy. It's like, don't even come near me.
Yes, but if you're doing an impression of her, her horses all recognise those signals very very clearly. You're not going to make friends with them, and you don't want to make friends with them. Yeah, you want them to do what they're told. Yeah,
that's it. Getting to know that. But I thought, yes, that's a good idea. Perhaps rein in her experience.
Yeah, she knows those horses through and through. Yeah. She knows them, and you don't. So God knows what she does, and the only way to find out is to observe her.
Yeah, brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay then. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, time's caught up with us, I'm afraid. I have to get on and do a bit of work. Been nearly 2 hours. Excuse me. If you have any questions for tomorrow, get yourself sorted with some way of getting on. Joe, I haven't got to you because your screen is just completely black, so I assume that you're having connection problems. Do join in tomorrow. I'm afraid I haven't had a chance to read all the comments. I'll have a little read of them now. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Bye. Bye.